There is no spoon. They are not to be hated. They are not to be feared. They are not to be reviled. They are not to be envied. They are not to be pitied. They are not. There is no spoon. They are not to be obeyed. They are not to be believed. They are not to be lived among. They are not to be followed. They are not to be educated. They are not to be trained. They are not. There is no spoon. They are not to be invited. They are not to be pondered. They are not to be ridiculed. They are not to be dreamed of. And they are not to be welcomed. They are not. There is no spoon. They are not to be sexualized. They are not to be watched. They are not to be mimicked. They are not to be learned from. They are not to be shared with. They are not. There is no spoon. They are not your healers. Only shameless poisoners ransom their victims to cure. They are not to be your genies. They are not to be your spiritual guides. They are not to be your vaults. They are not to be your miracles. They are not. There is no spoon. They are not to be your worry and your convenience. They are not to be your reason for being. They are not to be missed. They are not to be your voice. They are not to be reasoned with. They are not. There is no spoon. They are not to be contracted with. They are not to be your pillars. They are not to be sold. They are not to be your builders. They are not to be your commonality. They are not. There is no spoon. They are not to be your luxury. They are not to be your convenience. They are not to be your comfort. They are not to be your enabler. And they are not to be your dealers. They are not. There is no spoon. They are not to be your politicians. They are not to be your realtors. They are not to be your authoritative figures. They are not. There is no spoon. They are not to be within 6 feet once it starts burning. They are not to know your measure of progress. They are not to be your defining moment. They are not to be your harvest. They are not. There is no spoon. That's my piece.